I wrote a new fucking theme song, yeah.
I like it.
To celebrate my Scottish roots, telling Trump to go fuck himself. All right, we're about to get started, people. Hit that like, share the show. Annoy the maggot in your life. Whoops, hold on. I jumped the shark on the Substack thing. Hold on. There we go. As soon as we're up on Instagram, that's rolling. And Substack sounds good. Cool. All right. I have moved my buttons around, so it's fucking with me. All right, here we go. I'm going to try to do this. I'll go to me solo. Before I bring in the great Chris Titus, who is joining us this morning, I feel like I should warn you about the tornado of humanity you're about to experience. Because this young man, ladies and gentlemen, is a firecracker, as we say in the business. He's got moxie. If this was the 30s, he'd be the guy you go to on the street corner for the real skinny. The dope on the street, as it were, but not the dope that came in later, about 3 decades later, but the dope that they'd used before it. Never mind. The important thing is, ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Titus joining us this morning on House Parks Mornings Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Hi.
Hey, firecrackers know each other. Come on, man. I mean, that's funny. You described you. How's life?
It's good. It's life in a tornado. I'm often reminded of the fact that some of our favorite art, namely, especially the 80s, came during a time when we were almost nuked 4 times. During the 80s, right. There were literally 4 near misses. We would find out later this close to total nuclear annihilation, and it wasn't just the premiere of War Games. So, to me, I have a lot of hope for art, comedy, and everything else at this point because we're kind of in that zone, and yeah, so. I'm all right, and I got a kid, and he's wonderful, and the whole thing is, I'd walk through lava carrying him over my head to make his life better. So nobody's gonna I'm not gonna let some fucking orange sideshow clown wreck the earth on my watch.
Well, good. I think we're done here then. If we know that you're in, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I've been the Armageddon Update, the podcast we do. It started out so ironic, like it was named out. There was no Armageddon. We were joking because it was during Obama, and now it's become a literal. It's a literal name. Like we're literally clocking Armageddon on a daily. I know you have this. It's weird that come on and you have this hope. But
it's a weird. Yeah, it's a. You're unfamiliar with this emotion. I assume because you have power nihilism. You got like this steroid nihilism, like this, like own the end of the world, right?
I've just spent a lot of time with history, and man, you just we're just checking off the list of stuff that's gonna go wrong, and we're gonna end up, kids are gonna be locked in basements writing books, and there's gonna be, a bunch of we have camps.
I didn't know you were so hopeful that you thought people would still be able to write. Sorry.
You're right. In America, not in America. You're right. Absolutely right.
Yeah, right.
They're gonna still be, but we've lost killing the education department, which is fine. We're not fucking using it anyway. That's fine. But the killing the education department and Reagan starting killing education, you really see where we are now because of it. Like, I'm on the road doing this new show, Doomed to Repeat, and people that are showing up are smart. My people are smart.
Yeah.
But I use two I use an H.W. Bush quote and a Reagan quote. And one night we had a guy stand up, because I do this bit on immigration, and this guy stood up. That didn't happen. And I just want to go, hey man, you have a phone in your hand.
Right.
Just look up. Just look it the fuck up. And
right.
So I think that's where you have this hope that it's not going to happen because there's other people in charge, and they're trying to they're trying to suck all the money out, and they're trying to get it done. And I know, yes, and we also have so many stupid people that are willing to start. That's what I'm more worried about.
Okay, so I do not, by the way, I don't believe that it's going to keep trudging on because there are smart people managing it behind the scenes, that there's kind of like a good Illuminati versus the bad Illuminati. I do, because even the evil among us are doomed to experience life, and that it will go on trudging along no matter how much they try to flood the engine to try and get Jesus to come back early, or whatever they're trying to do to bring around the end times. It ain't working. And for all the talk about humans being a virus that won't go away, that we've seen in every marginally nihilistic 90s sci-fi movie, there's some truth to it, in that even through the Ice Age, we were like, okay, I guess we'll just get on with it. And there's so many people that get up every day and just get on with it, that is almost to the point of frustration for the Trump administration. The example I will give is the promises they made about immigration, and the 25 million people that snuck in the last 4 years, which would, for anybody keeping track, put us at 35 million undocumented or illegal or insane asylum escapees running around the country. But this motherfucker, can't find any of them. Immigration arrests and deportations were down last month. Because they ran on a myth, and they can't bring it up. I mean, we'll get to the Epstein stuff as well, but they sold a bill of goods to their followers. You and I, we knew they were full of shit from day one, right?
Yes.
And
that's the really frustrating part.
Sure.
Because smart people through history felt like that. I'm not claiming I'm a genius, but I'm smart enough to pay attention. And I've been saying this since he came down that escalator, guys. This guy cannot. And people are like, no, he's going good, man. He's helping me. Jesus, he liked Jesus. Mm-hmm. And So we have psycho now.
Right, but you and I, like I said, you and I were up on this or whatever. They're now catching up. I'm sure you have seen the right-wing freak out around, around Epstein is probably the biggest boil that popped on his ass in the last month, right? Literally because he tried to pull an old-fashioned Trump, which is release this thing, say there's nothing to it, and just move the fuck on, and then flood the zone with bullshit afterwards, and we'll pretend it didn't happen. And they have locked in on this. Now, there has been a secondary impact of this where I feel like even the ones that are comfortable bullshitting themselves have this little devil in the back corner of their head going, yeah, but that sounds like bullshit. That sounds like something like that was Obama. You would fucking credit this was Hunter Biden. Shut up. I love him. Shut up.
Wait, he brought up Rosie O'Donnell? That doesn't seem okay. What the fuck? Rosie O'Donnell's in the year. If you're a Trumper, you should. The second he invoked her name, you knew he was fucked.
Right. Well, like Andrew Sullivan and those assholes, right? Well, they were going like the minute he brought up Obama and Russiagate, I was like, he's guilty. That's what fucking Sullivan said, right? And he's. I mean, these guys are canaries in the coal mine, right? You and I don't need any convincing. But maggots are getting really edgy about this shit. And there will be no satisfaction. They're not going to get the Epstein evidence that they want. No. They're not. They're not. So how does this super volcano not erupt?
Well, because eventually, here's what bothers me, and this is through history. I never understood how Nazi Germany really got going, because there had to be good people, right? And I have relatives that are good people, but they voted for Trump. And I've realized something recently, is that there was a slow move. You don't fascism, authoritarianism, the end of it doesn't happen on Tuesday. All of a sudden, you find yourself in it, and that's where we are now. And at that point, it's too late. At that point, it's, you start picking up baseball bats and axes, and we hit the streets. But that's how I'm fighting. Going old school. Understood. I think your beginning really inspired me.
Well, no, what I would argue that since democracy is brand fucking new in human history, the fact that it exists in the first place is an anomaly, and it didn't exist anywhere up until a couple hundred years ago. And even in its limited form, even with its weaknesses, just did not exist. Was an absurdity, because your choice was theocracy or monarchy, and usually they were intertwined. Not only am I chosen by God, but I'm chosen by God and blood, right? That's right. And like my first really didn't have to do with Trump. It had to do with the fact with George Sr. and George Jr., right? W and HW. Because I was like, I don't want fucking the country passed from father to son. That's what we fought a Revolutionary War over. So fuck that to start with. Right. And then that got translated into Clinton to Clinton. Like, how dare she? Well, she ain't his progeny. That's his wife. And that's different. That's a human being who happens to be married to somebody else who does this for a living and now thinks, oh, okay, I know how to run the business. I was there the whole time he was starting the business, and therefore, right, I was through the whole governor into presidency, right? And she's smart. She's a lawyer, right?
She had an 86% approval rating when she was in the Senate,
right?
And people keep forgetting, oh, Haley was crazy. They in New York, they loved her. 86. She had 86% approval rating. So I do that too. I always judge on the job, but I get it. Yeah, the Bush thing was crazy. The Bush thing was nuts.
Well, and you said you had somebody like freaking out about that, an HW, or was it a Walker Bush or an HW joke per se?
It was an HW quote. It was a quote. Every American has ancestors that were liberty-loving risk takers in search of an ideal. Immigration is not just a link to America's past; it is a bridge to America's future. It was HW, because W couldn't have popped that one off.
No.
It was definitely.
We got to put food. We got to put food on our immigrants. We need our right. He would come. He would He's like the thing about George W. Bush is he's like a one-man game of telephone. Like whatever.
Came in this side, didn't quite.
Right. Whatever left his corpus callosum, by the time it reached his mouth, it went through 8 dumbasses on the way. Right.
Yeah. So what I'm really starting to worry about is that even I have some relatives that are MAGA, and they, even right now, they're still like, well, we don't know, we can't let that information out now. And and I think the amorphous nature of how they change their fucking minds to suit whatever they need to do to justify how wrong they've been. And here's the problem we have. And the other thing that's really disgusting is that we're not evolving. Like, you'd think after all these years, after knowing about the Nazis, after seeing stuff worldwide, and we're not evolving. You look at Gaza and Israel right now. We're not evolving. And at one point I go, well, I guess maybe the Matrix needs to reset, because right now everything's so wrong. It feels like the Matrix was bought by Bank of America. Nothing's working ever.
Not BlackRock, not or whatever, but Bank of America. Do you have a history with just bad pin issues?
By far the worst bank I've ever dealt with.
Right. Yeah. I agree. I've always just believed that no country can skip history, And to some degree, America, because of our geography and our separation from the real threats of the world, Mexico and South America being the boogeyman of immigration. Certainly Canada is no threat, bless their hearts.
Yeah, we love it.
That because of our geography and because of the waterways in our country and the geography interior to the country, this area is particularly suited to hunker down. Unlike most of Europe, Russia, certainly the Balkans, right? All that area is like, you've got a neighbor who wants your shit.
Yeah.
And
the oceans are much better than a fence. You're right.
Oh,
the oceans are much better than a gate.
Yeah, Trump wants to build a fucking wall on the east and west coast to stop the boats because he's a stupid motherfucker. But right, right, it's amazing. But I will say this, that I think we all kind of agree that like nothing was going to crack this cult's bubble until the Epstein stuff came along, and it's not going away. Like, they're trying everything. Like, this whole Obama Russiagate thing they're going to bring. First of all, Obama and Biden and everybody else are safe, and so are anybody involved with him because of the very laws that Trump insisted he has protecting him as president. So if the president directs anybody, fucking Brenner, anybody to do something, he's doing it as his job as president, they're not in fucking trouble. Like, because of the SCOTUS ruling. Like, this is not going anywhere.
Right. You gave everybody else immunity. So the guy that comes in and gets rid of you, or someone takes over and puts you in jail forever, it's an official act. And you gave him the rights. Right. I think what scares me the most, and maybe you know history better than I do. You always do. You always know more than I do. That's I come on the show with like, well, I'm going to get schooled at least. SCOTUS, I don't think we've ever had, and I could be wrong, maybe in the 30s, 20s, and 30s. I read that book that Rachel Maddow wrote. Maybe we had a SCOTUS at one point that was more corrupt than these guys. But it seemed, what I don't understand is the way we've been taught our entire lives. How can these people that are in power totally just say fuck to every tenet of America life, every rule that we were taught as children, everything that this country's based on? Like you said, the democratic experiment is amazing. We've shown it made us worldwide number one. And the second they started violating the tenets of it, all of a sudden now you can see the economy is going to go to shit. You can see what's going to happen. And
I would argue we can argue about whether that's a feature, not a bug, for a group of people who want to create dips and buy them, and then create another dip and buy it, and create another dip and buy it. But ultimately, they're all going to be hoisted by their own petard because of the AI boom is literally fueling the economy currently. The investment in AI is second only to the fucking railroads. As far as GDP to like U.S. investment, I don't know that people grasp that. All this stuff about they're going to invest $550 billion or they're going to invest $600 billion or $100 billion that Trump is talking about. Okay, the reason they're doing that in the United States is because of the chips that are available, and you have to do it inside the country to get access to some of the stuff. So they're investing in that so they can get access to these things, because everything is going to be run by this shit in 3 years, and they know it. The labor market.
I won't have to get up to do your show. I'll just have to prompt it, and it'll just talk to you.
Yes, exactly. You'll create a Titus avatar that just, is just like, be misanthropic on Hal's show for an hour, right? But seriously, like, they all know this. We have probably the most intellectually challenging advancement in human society is right in front of us. This is clearly what's it. Automation, robotics, and AI are going to change the surface of the planet in a way that the printing press did and the internet did, and the steam engine and cars did, all rolled into one in a shorter time span than like the civil rights era to gay marriage. Like that window, half that time, maybe. We're talking 8 years. 8 years. And these motherfuckers have no idea what it's going to look like. Nobody does. No. Not the bad guys and the good guys have no fucking idea. It's going to upend everything. But in the meantime, they are going to try to get ahead of whatever it is, just try to fuck the system and get you just got to get as much of a pile to stand on before the shit hits the fan. That's what the whole technocrats, the Peter Thiels of the world, that's what Elon Musk is doing. That's what they're doing. Like, build your big pile for what's coming.
I don't think so. I think they're more villainous than you think. There is a level of, listen, when you see these guys with billions and billions of dollars, I love, you're more like, if we're I am a puppy talking to a computer when I talk to you. I really get that. Like, I'm really emotionally aware. And when these guys, when you see a guy with $200 million and he's still fucking angry, when you see a guy with so many billion and they're still fucking, they want to build their cities that they live in with their rules. They want to build their kingdoms. I don't think it's just about money. They have enough. Trump, on the other hand, I believe this whole tariff on off thing is he's just manipulating the market. That's what he's doing. He's stupid, but he's not stupid enough to not understand what a tariff is. He knows what's been going on. He's been around this, been talking about it since the 80s when the car thing happened with Worldwide with Japan and stuff. I think you're wrong. I think there's some motherfuckers that want to see it burn, and they're not thinking that. They're thinking we have all the money, we've won, so we get to run everything. There is a level of ego with these cats that, to me, it's one of those things, and it's throughout human history. That's why I'm upset we're not evolving, because you'd think because honestly, they could literally change the entire planet for the better if they chose that way. Instead, using Lex fucking Luthor, and I think that's so.
I would say
what you
Thanos,
say
but yes.
Yeah, Thanos. Yes, it's not just as simple as they just want money. They have all the money.
No, I'm not saying. I agree. They want the money now. They're basically all about wrecking the system and gaining as much as they can in the short term. That's what they're for, short-term gain, which is the dirtiest and causes the most damage, because they think the end is nigh for that system, and they know it, that we're heading towards a post-labor economy, and they know it. Whether it's intellectual white-collar labor or blue-collar labor, a huge chunk of labor is going away. And since energy and labor are the two primaries, and once you get past where you can run nuclear facilities and they're better now, and you don't have labor anymore, these fuckers just don't. They're doing the Kissinger thing. Useless eaters. There's too many fucking people on the planet, and we don't need them. I don't need them to pick the crops anymore. I don't need them for that stuff. The immigration push right now, as much as Trump and his crowd initially were about brown people crazy, he thinks literally people seeking asylum are from asylums because he's fucking stupid. The people around him, the Elon Musks and the Peter Thiels, right? For real, the Peter Thiels and the Elon Musks around him want to automate all of those jobs and own the automation and control that part of it, not just because they'll make money off of it in the short term and they'll do all this stuff, but they have this technocratic vision of the world. And beyond that, they feel like, well, you got to come to us. If you want food, you're going to have to come to me. And that's the power aspect of it. This happened before. Yeah. Operation Wetback, which was the big Eisenhower program that everybody talks about in terms of brooming Mexicans out of the country, Mexican workers. Why did that happen? Everybody's like, because there was this spike in racism or something. Bullshit. The racism was there and still exists, and it ebbs and flows. What happened was tractors started being mass produced like cars. And now every farmer across the entire country could have a tractor that pulled a plow, that could plow 5 rows, and it didn't need 4 dudes.
Right.
Instantly, within 2 years. And they're and that was where the whole Mexican dudes with their sombreros sitting around up against a building became the stereotype about those people.
Yeah, the lazy
because of that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because they didn't have a job anymore, because the tractors put them out of work. What happened now is they got the cart before the horse, to borrow that analogy in this particular instance. They're not ready yet, but they're damn fucking close. And so they're starting the broom now.
So you think that? Listen, all right, okay, I'll say
Mhm.
that. So you think you're going to replace all the farm workers with robots, and they're going to be picking the crops and doing that.
I
So let
know
me
they
finish.
are. Not only are
My,
they replacing the
all
pickers,
right, hold
but the
on.
pesticides. Yeah, right.
I set my phone down outside in the sun, and it turns off in 3 minutes. You
Right.
think that we're going to put these fucking robots? Imagine the infrastructure that's going to need to take place. A, energy wise, and B, just like seriously, just cooling. Just with what you. So how do you reconcile this technology that is literally temperature sensitive with climate change and how the world's going? I think again,
Right.
listen, assholes, these Lex Luthor douchebag villains, all think we've got a robot, it's going to fix everything,
Yes.
and they don't. And like every stupid human, because you say what you will, just because you got $200 billion, don't make you smart. And we saw it with Musk. We saw that Musk does not have great judgment. Cybertruck being one, and joining Trump. I remember when it happened. I was like, "You, dude,
Hmm.
this guy fucked over his best friend Giuliani. He
Yes.
screws his kids. He
Right.
wants to screw his daughter. You think he's going to back you up? So,
Right. No,
so I
no, no.
think
I think they're going to eat each other because they're going to be clamoring for the scraps of something that they insist. I'll show you something real quick.
all right.
If I
Scare
can,
me.
my dear
That's
friend.
why I come on the show to get scared, really, because
See,
you
no,
always scare me.
see this thing? This is
Yep.
an apple picker. This is a robotic apple picker that works 24 hours a day. And it has a sensor on it that can tell when an apple is ripe. These are, like, this is beyond prototype. These are for sale now. They are
Holy
engaged in dozens of countries, including our own. They're big in Europe right now. They also have like a system that follows behind it that has herbicide and or lasers, depending on which one you're using, that will spot a weed or a parasite plant and zap it with a laser at its root, or spray it with an herbicide if they can't hit the root. This is
Holy shit!
this isn't
Scariest vehicle.
wait, this isn't next year. This is the one that's happening now. This is the iPhone 1. This is the iPod of this shit. And if you're worried about it working in the sun, it can work all
Yeah.
night.
Yep. Okay.
That's
all right. Solve that
the
problem.
and even if it works like at half the speed of a human being or a third the speed, it works 24 hours. So who gives a shit at this point? And it won't after a while. We all know how the difference between your phone now and your phone 2 years ago, much less 5 years ago, much less 7 years ago. That shit's going away. Any backbreaking work and effort are they're trying to get rid of it as fast as they possibly can. And I mean, just yeah. So I'm saying
that
they
why-
have a plan, and
Right.
it's conflicting with the old school Trump idea of or the resource capitalism idea of oil beneath your feet. The Saudi way of living, the Trump way of living is going away. And the new people that are kind of trying to walk in with the almost like the golden idol versus the bag of sand, like reversing it back, is the technocrats, is the people around him. And Trump is too fucking stupid to figure this out. So they're just riding his back during this. But I'm just telling you, this is happening already. I have two robots in my living room. One I built myself. And so
Of course
Right.
you did.
I have a robot dog that has ChatGPT built into it, like a little thing or whatever. It's fairly shitty, but I assembled it myself. And I'm printing legs for it so it can walk further and go upstairs, because it can't right now because its legs are too stubby. But that's what I'm saying is that and I know this upsets you, but the world is not going to end. and what's happening is right. There is a bunch of people. There's a mix of people who want it to end, and a bunch of people who think they're the transhumanists that think we're going to turn into robots. And those people are in the same room right now pretending to be friends in the White House. That's currently how I perceive it. And that's nuts, and it's a recipe for terribleness, but it won't succeed.
Right. However, I agree with this. By the way, that picture is the biggest Stephen King techno nightmare.
Right. No, the biggest Stephen King techno nightmare is Maximum Overdrive, which he directed, by the way. And that's
Right.
more terrifying than any monster that could exist.
I'm looking at that picture, just going, "Holy shit!" We're here. Okay, all right. So again, I've woken up. I've been writing jokes on my new show, and I haven't been paying attention to the robots are picking apples. So I will say that I'm scared now. Okay, that being said, though, here's what they don't get, and you can't plan for every problem. You can't plan for everything.
Right.
And what I do, we've been talking about universal income
UBI,
for a long time.
yeah. Sure.
And that's going to happen. That's going to have to happen now. Except for comics, we're still going to be working crappy gigs and sitting on a couch
Sure.
in a green room that's been there since the 40s. But I don't see where this goes for humanity unless because we're not evolving. We're going backwards. So how do we become the society? Here's my question. I think I'm good at questions, and you're good at answers. That's why you have me on.
Yes.
Where do we go then? If all the work is done by robots, if all the work is being done by not by humans, what's the point in education? Number one, do we become an art-based society? Do we become, because this has happened over and over, like you said, horses to cars, and everyone thought it's over. I agree with you. That's possible. However, we've never had something that could do everything. And it can almost do everything. I mean, look, the world changed when they invented the toaster. We were like, we got toast. But now you've got a thing that can build a toaster, make your breakfast. We basically will have slaves. And if they keep getting smarter at one point, they're going to realize they're slaves. At what happens at that point?
Gotcha. Okay. No. Okay. A couple of things right out of the gate. You're anthropomorphizing robots and AI to get exhausted, annoyed, overwhelmed. They don't. They are effectively immortal and have no limits like we have. You're projecting our own get up in the morning and my knees ache onto a robot, which does not have that experience. Every day it wakes up equally I'm cool. And I think the best example of that, if you watched, Mandalorian, the Alan Tudyk voiced that robot in, the bounty hunter one, the skinny one with the spinning head or whatever. Yeah. And it's pushing this boat and it's melting, because it's trying to save them because that's its fucking job. And they're like, I'm going to see you go. And I'm going to miss you. And he goes, I was never here. And the point is, it doesn't.
Yeah, but I saw Bicentennial Man with Robin Williams. So there you go. We're going to compare.
So you were the one. Sorry. All right. And I love Robin, but for fuck's sake. Okay. Here's what I will say is that there are elements of humanity that are rewarded always. Sports, art, craftsmanship. That is not going to change. And as robots and automation get better at creating sort of the IKEA type stuff, and everybody has a baseline. I would IKEA is a great example of that. Before IKEA, you and I, as scrapping comics, couldn't go to an IKEA and buy a fucking decent looking bed set for $200 or whatever. And so we had a mattress and box spring on the floor and fucking milk cartons, milk crates, if you were lucky, because that was kind of cool, right? But now that has raised the baseline of people's life and environment just a little bit, okay? It makes a nicer life experience available to more people, democratized relatively decent furniture compared to living in shit and squalor or hand-me-downs and that kind of stuff.
Yes, we can build the world with a 3-inch Allen wrench now. Yes, we are aware.
Totally, absolutely. You can fuck the world up with an Allen wrench. And I'll tell you what the difference. This is my theory is what will we ask robots and everything to build, and we'll whittle shit and make furniture and do stuff. And if you want something personal and human, a human will do it and add value to it. But if you're ever going to get something like this, from the human race, it is not going to be hammered by human hands. There aren't enough people on the fucking planet with any skills, and there never have been, to assemble one of these fucking things. Certainly not in space where you'd have to build it where there is no air. And so if we're going to get to the future of humanity and interstellar travel and mega structures of any sort, if we ever have hopes of building anything pyramid-like again, it's going to be done with robots so people don't get crushed because nobody gives a fuck. There are no flag-draped coffins for a robot.
I'm not afraid of the robots. I'm not afraid of the robots. I think you get me wrong. I'm afraid of what the people that are gonna be pissed that we have robots. I think I'm not like. Listen, I'm building
the Amish. You think the Amish wars are coming? They're come after us with muskets.
Yeah.
You're shut, motherfucker.
Exactly. They're gonna be rusting the Amish. We're gonna figure out how to rust them. I just had I'm doing this thing. I'm building a 65 Corvette. It's my last hot rod build I'm ever going to do. And I gave it to this guy who was a professional.
I disagree. I think you're going to do it again, but go ahead.
And I'm not, I swear to God, this is my last one. And you're right. I'm an addict. I'm not going to shoot up. So,
right.
Gave it to this guy, told him to walnut shell blast it, and give him instructions. And he's a human being, and he decided to do what he wanted to make some extra money. He sandblasted it. He ruined it. I would have loved to have some body work. And imagine dropping your car off, just pulling into a garage, and there's 9 robots, and they just work all day. It doesn't take 6 weeks to get your car back. You pull it in, they do the body work, they change the panels, they paint it, and it comes out the other side, and there's no problem at all. I would love that.
On top of that, let me before you tell me what the problem is, I want to add one more thing. Also, in that process, nobody lost a finger, nobody breathed paint fumes, nobody, got back and knee problems because they have to climb under an old fucking car or whatever because they can fold themselves in half and slide underneath and go, right? But the problem is, go ahead.
The problem is, where do we have purpose? Because I just got that the suicide rate is gonna spike like a motherfucker. I just got that. Listen. I think people don't commit suicide because they're too busy or they're too inspired. They commit suicide because they have nothing to do. So do we just become the society of artists, musicians? When you bring this whole robot and just so you know, I mean, you know this, China is beating the shit out of us. That he's continuing to complain about China. No, you don't think so? The guy from Ford, the head of Ford, came over and said they're so far ahead of us in building automobiles that we can't even keep up.
Well, it's not even about keeping up. They are flooding the market on purpose. They are making useless vehicles. The BYD, the biggest company over there, the joke name for it is burn your driveway because they make stuff so quick and so shitty, they burst into flames in your fucking garage. Yes.
I saw the head. I saw the CEO sit down and just say that's because he got a fucking tour
and the propaganda ministry walked him around like they dog walked him through the fucking factory. I guarantee it. I've been there.
You can't bitch about China's propaganda machine in our current situation.
Yes, you can. Oh yeah, you can. We're fucking pikers, buddy. The fact that you and I are on the air talking about this.
That's a valid point. All right, valid.
Period. I've told the story before, but I had a meeting when I did my show over there. I had a meeting with the propaganda ministry. We had to have a meeting with them, and they had to clear who we would interview. And there were several times where we had an interview or an event scheduled, something we were going to go to, and it was suddenly canceled, and now we're talking to a dressmaker in fucking, in Shanghai because the person wasn't on the team. And while I was sitting there, this is one of the things that enraged me and really was like my eye-opening moment. There was a young girl who was the translator for the propaganda minister. Now, on the one hand, I know this motherfucker speaks English. So he's using a translator, especially a pretty girl, as both a manipulation point and as a power play. Because he can hear every fucking word I'm saying and he knows it. But she has to write down what he's saying in Chinese and translate it for him. And her hand was shaking the entire time because she was so nervous about fucking up because of what would happen to her after it was over. And it was so evident that that's why she was afraid, that it enraged me. We still, even with the Stephen Millers and even with Donald Trump and him getting money out of Paramount, and all that shit, it's nowhere. It still doesn't even chart in those levels. It just doesn't. And because we have the ability to push back, and that's why we have to, and that's why you're valuable, and that's why your show is important. That's why your tour is important. That's why your podcast is important. because
You're
it
right,
is
by the way.
unique and it is important and powerful.
There's no way. You're right. The shit I talk on the Armageddon update, you're absolutely right. I would have been shut down 2 years ago.
You would be in a rehabilitation chair, is what they call it.
I would. I would not be around. I don't think they're altruistic though, but there is an unlimited sense of guidance. Now, I just got as you were talking, and thank you for always schooling me. I get here, and I don't know if sometimes I feel better about the world and worse about myself. So thank you.
That's my job is done here. I must move along.
I'm sure that I need to read more. So I do. When you were talking, I thought, oh, right. They built all these massive cities that nobody lives in. And they did all this stuff to look good, but it's really not good.
And the environmental waste is through the fucking roof.
Right. But we're giving up on that too. You know, like when Musk said, you know, if we had 100 square miles of solar panels, we could pretty much power the country. I don't understand all the solutions exist and we don't use them. And I know it's all about money and I get that part of it. But if you know through history, this doesn't work. Societies fall. It doesn't fucking work. And then
I agree.
And you back up your arguments with Star Trek pictures, and I'm not sure if I am okay with that. But I agree.
What's wrong? All right, what's wrong with Star Trek? We eventually, obviously, they're animal Spock. Is that your argument? That we shouldn't have made friends with the Klingons after all? They killed my son.
I'm just saying that where you make. I mean, your points are always. You're always so smart, and you win. But like, you know, we're going to need robots. We're going to need, you're right. We're going to need robots outside in space to actually build the shit that can only be built in space. However, we can't seem to get to fucking space. Musk is blowing up rockets almost every time now. So it's not better than it was in the 60s. And I'm saying, you're probably thinking that's because of humanity. So the humans doing it. But you think when AI takes over and AI starts solving all the problems of getting to space, that we'll get to space faster, and you think we'll get there cheaper?
Yes, I know that'll be the fact. I think even just the launch window and the data from weather stuff will be factored in faster, so you'll have fewer scrubbed launches, for example. That'll save you billions of dollars over time. But ultimately, the idea of a space elevator might come around because AI will finally figure out how to do that without wiping us out. I would like to point out something else to you.
This sounds logical. A space elevator?
See what this is? See this thing?
Yeah. Is that the chair they put you in?
This is called a tiger chair. And this is what like every Uyghur Muslim gets put in the first time. So the idea that we are experiencing anything even remotely close to this is off the charts. And what it does, I think, sometimes is it undermines our ability to like fight back, stand up, and we start to take for granted the freedoms we do have. Because that doesn't exist in this country. It might at some point, but only because people feel like you can't do that to me, right? Well before it happens.
It does exist if you fly middle seat on Southwest. It does exist.
Ouch. Sure. But that's, that's just a motivator. Isn't that what the Republicans say? Hunger is a great motivator. The middle seat on Southwest is the great motivator. More entrepreneurs and millionaires have been made by going, I got to do something about this. My life sucks, right? Sure, you can start a business now.
Like Group 7? This cannot stand.
Right, Group 7. That is new. You know that's like the derogatory phrase like rich people use about look at fucking Group 7 over there. Walking around the streets of New York on whatever Group 7, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's like Kurtwood Smith in I think it was Quick Change. We're like, you two with the mileage upgrades, right?
I do. I bought into that though. I did a bit in my new show. I did something. Let me tell you quick what a douchebag I can be. I go to check into a gig. I go to check into a gig the night before, and they gave my room away. I had a reservation and everything, and I literally said this to the man. I do a whole bit about it in the show. I tell the whole story, but I looked at this clerk and I went, I can't believe this. I'm lifetime platinum, and I heard myself say it, and I was like, what an asshole.
It's so him.
Yeah,
right.
It's such a made up thing.
What am I even bothering to compile miles for? Right? You motherfuckers, right?
Lifetime platinum. That means you can't take it away. And he was just, and the guy was, and I got mad, and he to his credit, he just froze like he was a bunny and I was a predator that could only see movement. He just looked at me, and I walked out.
Right. I've gotten to the point where if I know I'm going to be late because of the nature of my flight, even if I red eye, I will get an extra night the night before, and then call and pre-check in so that after my flight has been canceled twice and I arrive at 8 a.m. when I was supposed to be there at 8 p.m. the night before, I can go, my room's still fine, right? Okay, I'll be upstairs. I got radio in an hour, right? Because we've all been there, right? And somebody's saying, by the way, somebody in the chat said, is that Prince behind Chris Titus? You goddamn right it is.
Yes, it is. Goddamn it. Yes, it is. And that's a piece of art that was given to me by Everlast. The Prince art was given to me. It's a piece that a woman that made, and it's laid on top. Prince got arrested on a Rick James tour, opening for Rick James.
Do you know how hard that would be? Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're going after this guy, the little guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We don't have cuffs that'll fit him. Call the people at juvie, right? Slipped out again, right?
He stole a bullhorn. He stole a bullhorn, and got on the plane with it, and they arrested him. So that's the one shot of Prince we have.
All right, you have to hold right there. I'm going to go get something. And I'm going to come right back just because somebody brought it up. Because most people I don't think they're aware that one of the things that you and I do share, while I am obviously the yin to your yang in a lot of ways, minus the black dot, which I apparently am missing entirely. But the one thing we do share is our love and respect for Prince overall. Yeah. So hold on. Yes, I can hear. I can hear you. I can hear you while you're talking. So tell everybody your current favorite Prince song, and I'm going to grab something.
Oh man. Oh, okay. Well, it's a favorite Prince song is like saying which breath is my favorite. So currently, what am I listening to most? You guys got to go to one of the later albums. There's a song he did 2 different versions of called "This Could Be Us," and there's this electronic version that's so good. The dude kept. There, you're back. Thank God. I could. By the way, you could have stayed gone a lot longer. Oh, come on! Come on, man.
Yeah.
Are you playing that on any of the tour? Are you playing?
Yeah, I got it for to play at the Ultimate Jam night because we're going to be doing a Prince thing. And
by the way, you asked me to do that, and I can, but I gotta get better, a little bit better. I've been working my ass off on the guitar, so I don't suck too bad. I don't want to show this stuff.
I'm with you. We'll give you a rhythm part to start on something, fair. I'm
picking something, dude. That's awesome. How's it play?
It plays surprisingly great. The only problem I have is that he's such a masterful player. It only has 1 fret mark on it, which is the 12th fret right here, and no dots on the top. This motherfucker just had the fretboard memorized. So any guitar player that ever has to look down, he's like, it's like.
What do you mean? It's his?
Well, it's his model. Yeah.
Reproduction. So
it's a reproduction of it.
Model,
yeah.
Even for us as humans, they didn't put the dots.
No,
no. For the humans,
it's just like his. So it has the Prince symbol on the 12th fret right there, and no fret markers on the top of the neck, and none on the actual neck itself.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, by the way,
it's slightly scaled for his fingers. So it's even like it's not. It's like maybe I want to say like 3/4 of an inch shorter. Right?
No.
Right? Because of his hands.
Still making us feel bad about our talent. Good. That's great.
I know. And it's almost like he made it this way so that anybody picks up his guitar and goes, I don't know how he fucking does it, right?
Exactly.
Right? So anyways, I needed to show you this on the...
Beautiful, man.
Yeah.
And the color's perfect. The one thing about Prince that people don't... And I've had people that go, I don't like him. I think, he's got a couple of good songs. I have converted people like a cult
Yes.
member. Like I am
Yes.
like I am Prince's Ghislaine Maxwell. Like I am like no, come here.
Sure.
Come here. Listen to all these, and then they're like, and it's so funny to watch people's mind blown after the 100th great song, the
Right.
200th great song, where they're like, Teeth did all of this, and they have this look like that's not real. So yeah, I'm a huge Prince fan,
and his vault just starting to get opened, and then I got to say that after he passed, he had an army of people policing YouTube and places to keep his songs off there. So, because Warner Brothers screwed him out of royalties for so long that he was like trying to make sure that nobody got around it. Otherwise he would, he couldn't finance Paisley Park and this fucking monument house of his, and his tour bus and all that kind of shit. And so he had people on computers all the time just going copyright strikes and flagging and shit. And that went away. And so like all these live shows and videos that people posted and songs and demos and that kind of stuff has started flooding online, and it's really lovely. And so and his estate is now doing it on purpose. So
do you remember that he was the first guy to go after YouTube and actually dropped, I think it was like some $50 million lawsuit, and they knew that he had him dead to rights, and it got settled instantly. So the rest of us knew it. It was literally settled, and Prince's stuff was struck in like that week. It was the craziest thing.
Oh yeah,
he didn't. Man, smart man. We toured Paisley Park last year, and it's just it's interesting what a normal cat he was when he was by himself, and that that Prince character was a performance, and he admitted to that, which is really cool. That it was like that, because then you start to feel like, because that's what I do on stage now. I'm wearing a collar that's up to my ears. I'm just gonna become the coolest comic.
Yeah, do it, man. It's like my stage clothes when I do the Ultimate Jam Night is me peacocking who I really am. Like if I really had to display who I feel like my own self-image is, it's the shit I wear on stage at the jam, my silver jackets and fucking monster boots and all that kind of stuff. Because if I'm a closet glamvestite, and I think being a Prince fan is parcel to that we all have that kind of in us, is that watching Eddie Murphy in his fucking leather suit, and all that kind of stuff, and going, God damn, I wish I could do that, but I just can't get away with it, and eventually you just get tired of like carrying around normal like it's your job.
Yep.
Especially as an artist, it's a weird thing. Like I'm curious, like, because I have an enormous ego and I'm very proud of it. And that's why I get mad when people call Trump a narcissist. I don't think so. I think he's got low self-esteem and he's compensating. Yes. As a true narcissist who could probably drown looking at my own reflection, like falling into a river. All right.
You go to therapy? What's going on? Did you get a therapist? What's happening?
No, I've always thought like this. I'm just talking. This is just how if you bring it up, I'll talk about it. Like I never have to be coaxed into bearing my soul. Let's get out of here.
But here's a difference. Here's the difference. Narcissism. I don't know if you're going to give me the exact definition of narcissism. You've actually accomplished so much. There's a difference between, like, I'm on my 11th 90-minute comedy special. I have a Writers Guild nomination. When people say, "Oh, he's full of himself," no, I've just accomplished a lot of shit.
You worked, yeah.
I've worked my ass off. So, like, my son started doing stand-up, and he said to me, he goes, "What happens if someone tells you you're not funny as it heckles you?" I start laughing. I go, "You don't last 40 years doing this business and not be funny." And so I don't know if that you have the confidence of serial killer, and that's what you need to be.
Dude, it's so funny that you bring that up, because I thought for a long time, because I was, we talk a bit about how much like true crime that people are watching these days, myself included, and the fact that that's why the Epstein thing isn't going away is because it hits that fucking nerve, that funny bone of America, where we're like, wait a minute, he sounds guilty. Like that's all we think about, in that regard. But I'm a big Mindhunter fan, and there was this epiphany that I had watching that show, where the guy playing Ed Kemper, then this is I believe an apocryphal line. It's a combination line from other stuff. It's kind of like Follow the Money and All the President's Men, that it didn't really happen, but it sums up a period of time in one line. And they go, we're thinking about saying some killers are organized and some are disorganized. And somebody goes, what do you think about that? And they asked Edmund Kemper, who's the co-ed killer, and he goes, I think all of your opinions about serial killers have come from the ones you've been able to catch. And that means you are only dealing with the subset you can catch.
Yeah.
And
the guys who aren't really good at it. You're dealing with the low-level guys.
Right. All you do is catch the juvies, right? and there's an element to that I now has sort of freed me from this expectation of like maybe the idea that online when you're talking to people and they're talking shit, I'm like, you're a subset of a subset of a subset of a subset. I don't have to take you fucking seriously at all. And you don't even have a real name on there. So not only are you anonymous, but you're an anonymous member of a small group that is like self-narrowing. So why would I go, oh my God, people hate me because of one particular person? And that's kind of, I think, the heckler reflex, is you got a whole audience laughing and one dude yelling. There's a lot of, an amateur, an early person will fixate on the one person, right? Instead of the rest, instead of, I've got backup. And I think you learn, and I think maybe you know early if you have the kind of ego you and I have, you learn early that you can draw on that. And a heckler is not a fear point. It's, I get 20 minutes of free material. I can save 20 minutes of jokes that if these people see me next time, they'll have never heard because I'm just going to unload on this loser, right?
I said that before.
Yes, right.
I'm glad I just stopped to go, hey, man, listen, here's what's going to happen. You're going to say another stupid thing. I'm going to pound on you for about 3 minutes. They're going to love me because I turned you into a shitball. And then you're going to get mad, and you started it. So if you want to go, you ready? Go.
Right.
And to just turn the spot, it's so fun to turn the spotlight on a heckler. Yeah, they just stopped dead.
Right.
Like, come on, really? That's what I thought. I've done that before. Where that's what I thought. Changed the whole room is like, yes,
right. Because it's a fear game at that point, and I think that also applies politically to where we are and being outspoken in this, even to the point of where you can still have a sense of humor about it, shows you still have control. And I think that's why Trump farms the outrage machine, because that's you losing control. That's you entering into fear. That's you entering into, like, he's got the power in that situation, right?
That's why we don't stop on our show. I will go as hard as I have to.
Right. And
I've done it. I thought, let's say it does go to full fascism and they do come get us. I've got 10 specials out. I'm working on my 11th. I've done enough. I'm cool, but I will make a big noise. Do you think because they're talking about it, they're talking about coming for the people that are talking shit. You think they're going to?
No.
Okay. All right.
Unless they want to make Lenny Bruce out of all of us. I don't see them doing that. And because they ran on free speech, they ran on this stuff. And that little demon in the back of their fucking heads of the maggot crowd, is still like, wait a minute, I thought we were pro free speech. Like, even if they go, shut up, I like Trump. Like, it's still there. They can't excise it because it's a point of, it's their self-image is based on it. They're the super free speech people. All right, well, then I can say anything I fucking want, buddy. And if you don't like it, shut the fuck up. And if your dude tries to put me in jail for saying what I'm saying, you got to deal with the fact that you are full of shit. Not him, not me. You are full of shit. And that's, I think, the thing that they're afraid of.
That'll be great. That'll be great to say while I'm sitting in the torture chair. Thanks, Hal. Yeah, it'll work out.
Look, don't pretend. I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, but don't pretend you wouldn't like it, you fucking freak.
So what bothers me the most recently is that these guys that made their bones, and I think really disingenuously, as the pro MAGA bro comedians that really, and now are doing this turnaround. It's so fucking angering because you're not good comics. You're not Twain. Right. You're not Hicks. You're not Carlin. You are not Will Rogers. You are opportunists, and it fucking pisses me off. Now they're going, you know what? This is not what I voted for. Motherfucker, you got 3 million people to listen to him. Part of the reason he's here is because of you.
Yes.
And you're like, I don't understand. So I that's upsetting me. I don't count those guys as comics. That is not our job. What do you think about this ETA thing? All these weird anomalies in the voting systems.
I think it's a put a pin in it element, because we can't, there are people who can do stuff about it or filing lawsuits, and that's great. And if it actually gets some legs and stuff, I'm certainly not going to push back against it. So fill your boots. If you're able to show it, that's fine. But I think it will really be solved by an overwhelming show of force in the next election, which they will not be able to put down. And he doesn't have Elon Musk possibly throwing the machines his way the next time around. Fucking Big Balls got his ass kicked the other night. I don't know if you know that. He was like, he was carjacked and got beat up in D.C. And I'm like, carjacked, right? Yeah, that's it happened. Yeah, that's what's happening. He's like walking out of the White House with a fucking thumb drive in your pocket. Is that what happened? Because I don't necessarily, right? That's some fucked up shit. So
really one of the kicked.
Yeah, there we go. There's Walsh in the background. He's hanging out. Look at that. Hey. Yeah, look at that. I'll bring it in just 1 second. I want to finish up with Chris Titus because you're on tour right now. Where are you right now?
This week I'm going to be in Omaha. I'm doing Omaha. Next week I'm going to be at Cobb's Pub in San Francisco, one of my favorite places to work.
I love Cobb's.
New shows to repeat. This show's been getting, I'm getting standing ovations in red states. And I had a club owner say to me, he goes, how is that working? I go, because it's not a show. It's not a liberal show. It's an American show. People know at the level, there's that thing that they're seeing, like you said, in the back of their head that's going, holy shit, that I never once make up a concept. I'm just quoting the Constitution about immigration, and they go nuts. And I go, so he goes, you need to say that on stage, that it's an American show, not a liberal show. And I said, okay, they're not as stupid as you think they are. They couldn't be.
Also, don't get me started on the old idea of the Southern gentleman who spoke fucking multiple languages, could quote the Constitution to you, and this whole being an uneducated dipshit was a manipulation tactic by the very people that wanted to put these people in shit jobs and milk them because they ran out of because slavery was shut down. They needed the next best thing. So I think being from the South, I feel like you have the right to talk shit. I grew up in Kentucky. So everybody goes, do you tell, when they hear my Southern jokes when I'm doing stand-up, they're like, do you talk that way in the South? I'm like, no, I'm worse because I'm fucking here. And they know it. They know they know I'm not bullshitting. And the only reason they don't like an outsider saying it, but you can talk truth right to them, right? So I want to remind everybody, if I may, you are on tour right now. Go to ChristopherTitus.com to check for the
tour dates. Yep.
Yeah, you have the fucking wildest website. It is just overwhelming. It's like I'm about to take your Canvas subscription away, but there's plenty of merch there for everybody to get, and we will I can't wait to have you on again. I feel like it's my goal in life to infuse you with some optimism as a form of kryptonite almost, but.
You are my most interesting friend. I will say that, my friend. All right, get on with it, my brother. I will talk to you
Appreciate
later.
it. Thank you. Absolutely. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you soon, and be safe out there. And never forget, you're Group 1, my brother. You are Group 1.
I am Group 1. You're Group 1.
You are pre-boarding in my. You are priority lane in my life. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but there's also another level. There's Delta 360. Who's Delta 1?
I know. Watch my Frasier episode. All right. I'll talk to you later. Cheers. There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. Christopher Titus, the great Christopher Titus. And now I'm going to bring in, let's see, let me bring this in first. And there we go. I got to change the title on this, and then I'll bring in Mr. Walsh. What's happening? All right, here we go. Saving that, and then I'll pop you in. And we will, yes, we're about to get, where's this guy? Where'd my little window go? There it is. Here we go. I've got too many monitors up right now. It's an illness. Eventually, I'll get better. All right, here we go. There we go. Excellent. Joe Walsh joining us right Now, hold on. There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. How are you? Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Too much shit going on.
I got just enough shit. I have the reasonable amount of shit for the amount of shit that is going on in the world, my friend. Welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Did a light fall over? You okay?
Am I okay? Something just fell over.
That happens. That happens. Obviously, you're haunted, or it's the deep state. We don't know. Hey, Joe Walsh, welcome to the show.
Sound okay, Hal? Do I look
sound
and
great.
Sound okay? I just dropped something, like the modem or something.
No, it sounds great. You've got some heat from the window on the side of you that's making you kind of giving you. Nope, the other side. That side was fine. The other side. There you go. There you go. That evened it out. It's good. Nice.
Done. Okay.
Are you?
Thank you.
And you're live in Tucker Carlson's sauna. Apparently, I didn't realize we had him. Hold on. I think what's his phrase?
I like wood. I like wood.
That's what it is.
Deeper and longer.
That was Tucker Carlson's quote on his. He whittled that cabin himself because he's a man of the people. Welcome. Where do we even get started with you, my friend? The current insanity. I would like to say that even the distractions are a distraction at this point. So because there's so much going on, and it's your first time on the show, what story has been stuck in your craw lately? Let's just start there. That you don't think is getting enough attention while everything else is getting too much or not enough attention.
Great to be with you. Great to be on your show. Look, an utterly horrible human being is in the White House, and now 6 months later, we're living with it. Every fucking day, 1,000 lawless, corrupt, ignorant, cruel things he says and does. So to pick one is fucking impossible.
Right.
So I'm just going to grab this right now. The Justice Department is our Justice Department. The Attorney General is fucking the Attorney General for the people, the top law enforcement officer in the country. She ain't Trump's personal lawyer. She is,
yes.
Pam Bondi is Trump's personal lawyer. His Justice Department, they are his lawyers. The number 2 guy at the Justice Department
specifically,
is his lawyer.
yes.
Specifically, they're actually meeting with J.D. Vance later today to talk about how to strategize on this whole Epstein file shit. We've so fucking normalized everything with Trump. This is wrong. The Justice Department doesn't meet with the vice president or the president. They don't work for them. But we've like normalized everything with Trump. So a meeting like this is no big deal.
Yeah, I like Todd Blanche having this secret meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell, and then them effectively just scrubbing anything she said that mentioned Trump from the thing before they are going to release. I don't know. I don't even know at this point what they're insisting they're going to release from this thing. Is his notes? There certainly wasn't a transcription insofar as we know. That's sort of an absurd thing in the first place. There was no video of it. If there was, good Lord, you think there'll be 3 minutes missing of that like there was the fucking jailhouse video, right?
Yeah, look, when I was in Congress, Obama was president, Eric Holder was his AG. And if Eric Holder even looked at Barack Obama, we all screamed.
Right.
Now, 12 years later, Pam Bondi is literally Trump's lawyer. And nobody gives a fuck. And all of my Republican colleagues don't give a fuck. This is an easy one, though, Hal, this Epstein thing.
Yes.
I talk to the MAGA base every day because I come from the MAGA base.
Yeah, right.
Nothing animates them more than the deep state, the deep state, the deep state. They were promised that this Epstein thing was going to be the mother of all scandals that would expose the deep state. And then Trump gets elected and he says there's nothing there. This is, his base is confused. Many are pissed off.
Right. And I don't think they can put this toothpaste back in the tube. Personally, I think this is the one thing. This might be the thing. We've all been wondering for the longest time, and I think that's why we get outraged. But there's a big bunch of them that don't seem to be going back. You don't think so?
I love you, brother, but no. I'll buy you a bottle of your favorite bottle of booze if it is the one thing. No, they're going to give him as much room as they can. And all of these right-wing media cheerleaders, I used to be one of them, they may be spouting off a little bit right now, but they're going to give Trump as much room as he needs to fix this. Look, He overthrew an election. They didn't care. I believe this. If it came out that Trump was a pedophile, most of his base would not care. If it turns out, though, you're right to a degree, Hal. If it turns out that this is a big deep state scandal and Trump is keeping a lid on it, some of them will walk.
Well, and again, I agree. I mean, I think the QAnon, the sort of QAnon pocket, the 8 to 12% of maggotdom that came. And by the way, I don't drink, so it would have to be some sort of a tea. But
Okay.
there's all like whatever, just plain iced tea will be fine. Even a single glass. But they built this coalition of a bunch of kind of like remnant always vote our crowd, hardliners on immigration and that crowd, and then they sealed the deal percentage wise with effectively this like always Trumper QAnon like psychopaths. But those folks were trained on Pizzagate, right? That's what I think makes this issue different for them, is that they were not like, that's why E. Jean Carroll didn't bother them, because the Me Too thing, they were against the Me Too movement or the Time's Up movement. They didn't give a shit about adult women. They think they're all liars or whatever Trump says about them is one thing. But when it comes to girls, as underage girls, like below the age of 16 in some cases, there's a window where I feel like their heart starts to outrun their ability to rationalize. But I've seen it with like the Benny Johnsons of the world and those folks, is that they seem to, even though they want to put it behind them, they can't. Now Charlie Kirk's got marching orders, clearly, right? He's getting a fucking phone call from the White House all the time.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk does directly what the White House tells him to do. A guy like Benny Johnson will do whatever the Russians pay him to do.
Right.
Look, again, these guys
Yeah.
are scared to death of losing audience. They're not going to lead some insurrection against Trump. If their audience rises up and en masse and says we're done, then they'll poke their noses out and say we're done. But I don't. You're right.
Gotcha.
This is different because this is coming from inside the house.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's less pedophile with that last group of people. I think it's exposing the deep state, which is what the Epstein files were supposed to do. And Trump was their savior to do that. And for him not to do it now?
Yeah, so maybe the thing isn't so much that they're thinking he's hiding what his involvement was, is that he's covering for Bill Clinton and Bill Gates and other people. It's because ultimately you can't do one without the other. I've made the argument that one of the reasons why there may not have been a case before, why Trump in his first term, when whatever happened to Epstein happened, that Trump didn't go after Clinton and others because he could have at that time and cleared the decks, was because the only witness they could bring to the misgivings and the crimes of those people involved was Trump himself. He was the other guy on the fucking plane watching. So they can't go, who else saw this besides the underage girls who've been sent back to Eastern Europe we can't find? Well, there were only two other people. One guy hung himself in jail allegedly, and the other one's currently president. Because Trump was around this shit for 25 fucking years. I've made the case for a long time, and I do think this is why it's a boil that's going to pop. Is because Trump's only really had two friends in his whole fucking life. Roy Cohn and Jeffrey Epstein. Both of them dead pedophiles. And it's the weirdest part of this. Like, he has business associates and sycophants and hangers-on and yes men, but his only real friendships that have been charted at all, where he shared anything with them other than just business dealings, were Jeffrey Epstein and Roy fucking Cohn. Both well-known global pedophiles, evil fuckers.
Well, and hell, to that point, let's be real. Trump has a gross historical addiction to really young girls.
Yes.
So it ain't a leap from what you just said and what I just said. It ain't a fucking leap to say Trump's a pedophile. End of story.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those things where like Trump is the kind of guy, it feels like, around Epstein, who would wait till a girl was 18, trained and controlled by Epstein, and then he would act on it more than likely because he knew of the legal ramifications of it. But as long as they look underage, he doesn't care, right? That's how you get away with it. That's how the people like that do it, right? And Epstein he basically had a farm for like training sex slaves in that regard. It's fucking terrible. And even
No, hell, I was just going to say, I saw this morning a recording of a speech Trump gave in 2006. I think it was to some modeling contest. And he was up there with a 17, 18, 19-year-old girl. And he talked about how all men have some addictions, like Trump doesn't drink. He said, an alcoholic, you put that glass of scotch in front of a man. With me, you put a young woman in front of me, I'm just saying it's the same kind of thing. And this was
the same
Trump.
thing he said on the bus. Right.
Exactly.
I don't even stop. I just start kissing them. I can't even stop myself. And I'm like, okay, that's bad enough when it's an adult woman. And then there are two elements of that. One, that was from the learning annex. And the woman that came up on stage was of age and wanted to be a flight attendant on his plane, right? But he, apropos of fucking nothing, she's an adult. Apropos of fucking nothing, he brings up underage girls. He doesn't go to her like you see it. You put a beautiful woman like her in front of me, I can't stop myself. Like that's just kind of like dice clay bullshit from back then, right? You could get away with that, but he brings up a 17-year-old girl. She's not 17. That woman's like probably in her mid-20s. She had like fake boobs and the whole trick, right? He brought up the underage girl. And then on Howard Stern, he tells Robin his floor is 12 for girls. Like, I don't want to mess with 12-year-olds like Mark Foley or something. But that seems to be his limit.
You're right. But again, I just keep taking it back to the bigger, broader point because I've been publicly opposed to Trump for now 7.5 years and have fucking destroyed my life. Yes, you could make a clear case he's a pedophile. But I go back to this. 5 years ago, he lost an election. This actually happened in America. He refused to accept the results. And then he committed crimes trying to overthrow an American election. That fucking happened here.
Yeah.
In a normal world with normal people who cared about shit, that guy in January 7th of 21 would have been sent to Siberia. We never would have heard from him again.
Right.
But like that didn't matter to him. That's why, by the way, he's so fucking dangerous this term. And people around him have told me this. He believes he's an untouchable. He can do anything he wants to do. And that's playing out.
Well, I would argue that and this goes back to kind of the Obama idea, because clearly he entered his first term believing the hype that they had sold about Obama for a long time, that Obama did things illegally and just shoved things down their throat. If you'd ask any maggot from that era about the ACA, they shoved it down our throats and it didn't go through committee. It didn't get voted on. They snuck it by in the middle of the night and nobody ever read it. That's the story that you'll hear, when it's clearly not the case. Big portions of that were Romney Care. It was largely bipartisan. Ultimately, there were political lines drawn, but the bill itself was not like an upending of. They didn't create universal health care. They didn't throw in a public option. Those kind of things that were the line for even the blue dog Democrats. But if you ask him, it was like he ruled like a king. And so when Trump came in, he thought, well, I don't have to. Obama didn't, so I can just shove things through. And it didn't work. And he got pushback from people, and he's still, to some degree, getting it, even though, because we're still on a CR from fucking Biden. Even the stuff that he's added with this big bullshit bill, they're clawing back like 20% of it in the first month after it was passed. The Republicans are pushing through bills, like taking back parts of that bill secretly so that the maggot base can think that the bill went through. And they're like, oh, fuck, that'll screw stuff up. That'll screw stuff up. And they're fixing it. And of course, Dems are helping because they don't want that stuff in the first place. So he's not able to do things like a king. And I think he'll find out the hard way once he tries. And I still feel like, yeah.
No, I'm going to beg to diff a little bit. I think
Sure.
he is Yeah, I think he is a tyrant right now. I think
I think he wants to be, sure. Yes. And I think he has
I-
a lot more, fewer limits on him than he had the first time. Right.
he has fewer limits on him than any president of this country has ever had. Let's be real. We don't fucking have 3 independent branches of government right now. I served in Congress. From the moment Trump was sworn in, the legislative branch just ended. And all of these guys, my former colleagues, they're not defending the Constitution. They took an oath to defend Trump. I don't think America realizes that. We do not have an independent legislative branch right now.
Right. They just handed it over.
Beyond frightening.
Right.
They handed it over to
Yeah.
him. We've never, ever been here before.
Right. Well, I mean, like, I think we've certainly not been aware of being there before. I think we had it pre-civil rights era. I think, right after the Civil War for a few decades, there were certainly areas where it was just the awful was understood, right? So there was no uproar about it because, well, black people shouldn't be allowed to move there.
You'd have
right?
to go back. You'd have to
Yes.
go back that far. In modern times,
Yes.
no fucking way. You're right.
No, exactly. Right. And what I will say is, though, there are cracks that I've not seen before too that have to do with his own hubris. And there are 2 elements I have questions about. Maybe because you may have you certainly have more of an inside track than I do about these things and who you talk to. But it seems increasingly that Donald Trump's brain is turning to tapioca, that it was never in good shape to begin with, and it's getting worse by the day. And it seems like, to me, J.D. Vance and that crowd, the Peter Thiels around him, are bum rushing a bunch of shit through because they see this man failing before their very eyes. And they're trying to get it done before something awful happens. Either he keels over or craps out. He was on the fucking roof of the White House saying he's putting in nuclear missiles. Like, fucker is gone, right? So are they just like, sign this, quick, sign this, like, keep signing EOs that are pages from Project 2025 before the meltdown they know is coming happens? I mean, it seems like that from the outside.
I agree with your premise. Trump is losing it big time every fucking day. No doubt about that. And I know that Vance and people around him know it. But I disagree that there's a relation between that and how quickly they're moving to change this country, because they were doing it from day one, the day he got sworn in, man, a flurry, and they haven't stopped. Yeah. J.D. Vance, who's probably his successor, he and Thiel and all of his money people, they're not going to do a damn thing to even make it look like they're rushing him along. My God, if Trump died in his sleep tonight, J.D. Vance is golden. So no, they've already... A president typically gets everything he's going to get done. He's a lame duck in about a year. They're already kind of getting there. J.D. Vance's mind is probably already on 28.
Right. But do you think...
But he is losing it. You're right about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could just see he's got the old man window where he can stay focused for a short period of time. Anytime outside that, he's dozing off or talking shit. And they know it. J.D. Vance, I do think that, apparently Trump dissed him again the minute he left the room, because Trump does not think he's the successor. That won't matter. It will matter who the machinery, the mechanism behind it, right?
You could be right privately, but, Trump came out yesterday and complimented the hell out of him and said, I'm not going to officially say he's my successor, but he's certainly the most likely, So he went down that road.
Is that because they're having a meeting today about the Epstein shit at Vance's house?
No, I think that's because it's the smart thing for Trump to do. I also believe there's a big fucking part of Trump that wants Don Jr. to be the nominee. And don't overlook Donnie Jr. I mean it, my friend. I mean it. And the base fucking loves him.
Right.
If Tucker Carlson wanted to run, he'd be in play. This is a radicalized. My former party now is the MAGA party. That's just clear.
Right. Well, but the problem is with each of those people, do they burn a section? This is what they ran into with the BBB, and why they ultimately got the Senate version instead of the House version was because every time they gain 10 votes here, they lose 20 votes there. So they were having to that's why everybody's decrying the fucking uniparty, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is like, I don't even recognize the Republican Party anymore. Like, idiot, you got most of what you fucking wanted. The only thing you're not getting is the most sycophantic psycho shit because you were being lied to. Because Trump ran as Santa Claus and he has to govern like the Grinch just like everybody else. And this whole like deep state story these fuckers have told themselves, but it's just, I feel like deep state's just a sexier, more spy-sounding word than bureaucrat. Bureaucrat used to be the fucking bad word. These fucking bureaucrats is stamp jockeys, right? There's bunk bunk, and you got to get it past these guys, and nothing I can do because they enforce the law and the Constitution. Fuck these guys. Deep state just sounds like the Illuminati, but it's the same shit. It's the same shit.
It is, but it's also more sinister and conspiratorial. And remember, it really kicked in when Trump won in 2016, and every intelligence expert across the political spectrum came out and said, it's clear Russia interfered like they've never done before to help get him elected. Mm-hmm. And the minute Trump heard that, right after he won, he said, fuck that. They're trying to tarnish my victory. And he declared war on these people. Mm-hmm. That's when this whole notion of Trump's the victim and there are government bureaucrats that are going to do anything to bring him down. That's where that really was born. And he's played that victim deep state card ever since.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it works with the Russia story. I think that the way to turn it around, and I've been bugging anybody in the press who will listen to every time they bring up Russia, he says Russiagate or any of that kind of shit, go on the subject of Russia. Do you think it's curious that Epstein funneled $1.1 billion through Russia in his last couple of weeks of life before he allegedly vanished? And do you think there's a chance that might have been, a payment scheme to get him out of jail and maybe he's alive someplace or whatever? Like, float that out there and don't, take the Russiagate aspect away from it and go and put Russia back on the table as a possible, agent provocateur in this situation. Turn it around on them. Don't let them own that and throw it away by trivializing it, because that's what he does. He trivializes important things, and then the other thing is if he's guilty of something and he knows it beforehand, do a preemptive strike, call somebody out for it, say they're a fraud because he's about to be found guilty of fraud, right? So, and then when you say, wait a minute, you were just found guilty of fraud, you're like, it sounds like a tit for tat to the average, voter or anybody who wants to be on his side. It feels like, oh, this is just a fight between equal sides, instead of somebody going, no, one of us is talking about gravity and the other one is telling you he can fly by flapping his arms. So,
spot on, brother. Spot on. Spot on, my friend. That's what he's doing right now. Look, he doesn't want people talking about Epstein or the economy. So I'm gonna declare Obama a traitor. He committed treason. And Tulsi Gabbard, this is what you're going to do. I want you to demand the Justice Department open up an investigation of what Obama did in after the 16 election. So that's exactly what he's doing now.
Oh, I agree. I see two vulnerabilities in that. One, and check me on this. The first one being is that it will reopen the conversation about Russian interference. So we'll all start talking about it again. And people go, well, why don't you just release the Mueller grand jury testimony then and all that kind of stuff? Why wasn't he able to look? Why did Bill Barr stop him from looking into the finances, which was the motive part of means, motive, and opportunity in the, in a criminal prosecution? So you'll reopen that wound by bringing up a Streisand effect on the Russia aspect.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is that Trump's own SCOTUS made this rule that presidents can do whatever the fuck they want. And if you've been ordered by the president to do something, then he's doing it in his official duties. So how do you fucking throw Clapper and Brennan and these guys or Hillary Clinton in fucking jail for doing what Obama told them to do, if that's your case, if he's acting in his official capacity, right?
Yeah, I don't know exactly the particulars of that, but you're right in that they acknowledged yesterday that they're not pursuing Obama because they can't.
Right.
So they'll try to. I actually don't think the investigation will really proceed. I just think this is Trump just throwing big pieces of shit against the wall.
I agree.
The best red meat he's got.
But again, because there's that wall, it's not going to go past a certain point. He won't be able to act on it. Because again, if you can't bring charges against Obama and people are following the orders of the president and they're directly, it's his direct authority, not only do they
I don't know that though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might know that better. I don't. That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that. Like, okay, Supreme Court last year said, Trump, you can do whatever you want. You can use the Navy SEALs to kill your political opponent. So then the guys that actually carry it out, are they in the clear too? I honestly don't know what
Yes, they are.
I didn't know that.
Because they were given a lawful order by the President of the United States, because all it has to do, and here's the weird part. This is why that ruling was so fucked up and why it's so dangerous, is because the president just has to do it because he thinks he's doing it. On behalf of for national security. It doesn't even actually have to show evidence that he was doing it for national security. He just has to go, I was doing it because I was concerned about the country. And that's enough. That's fucking crazy, right? And you can't ask any further, which means any order he gives is based on, I had concern for national security, and these folks were carrying out a lawful order by the president who was concerned about national security. And when it comes to Russia, the Republican, like the Congressional Committee and the Senate Committee both came out and said, yeah, Russia tried to fuck with us. They just didn't change physical votes, but they did everything else they possibly could. And they tried to hack the voting machines.
And the Durham report investigated this and cleared no wrongdoing.
Right,
no
it's a fucking dud. And like Glenn Beck and John Solomon and all these dickheads throwing out the appendix of the thing, like here's his notes, like it's the fucking Federalist Papers. You're like, eat shit. The reason this stuff didn't make it to court is because the rest of the report goes, yeah, we looked into it. It's basically like they made these things up.
Yeah, and that appendix clearly looks like a Russian Russian document.
Right. Yeah. It's so stupid.
Look, I get...
So what happens to MAGA? That's my question, though. What happens to MAGA when that wall happens? When they get to this point, which is inevitable, they won't be able to act. There's no actionable criminal charges that will come from that appendix. Everybody, I mean, the most you'll get is somebody pleading the fifth because they're not quite sure if they've got, immunity in this, and that's the end of that. And they can't go after Obama. They can't go after Clinton. They can't go after Brennan. Any of these guys. They can't. That's the Supreme Court that gave that tool to Trump. Also gave that tool to every president. What happens to MAGA when that wall hits and nothing fucking happens? None of them go to jail. No charges are filed. Right.
Here's what. MAGA will say, dear leader tried, and the deep state prevented him again.
Right. But it will be because of his law. Right. I know, but it's because of his ruling will be the reason, right?
You've already gone down a few levels that they will not go down.
Sure. Okay. I feel like...
and by the way, you're smart to go down that road. Mm-hmm. They're not going to go down with you. Trump tried. The deep state stopped him. Here we are again.
But I would argue that Trump...
That's what they'll think.
If you're going to talk about deep state in this, I think you can turn it... There are ways to turn it on its head. And I feel like that's my job, right? Right now is not letting them get away with it. Like, they can bullshit themselves all they want, but I'm going to call bullshit, and I'm going to make it personal, because I don't give a fuck if he's bullshitting you. It's whether you buy into it. That's about you. And that's about maggotdom. That's about the maggots that occasionally show up in my, that troll through my chat, or that show up online, or any of that stuff. Again, a subgroup of a subgroup of a subgroup, but still, that I'm not going to let them get away with the fact that if anybody's protecting the deep state, it's Donald Trump with his SCOTUS ruling. That basically saying the deep state is whatever the president says it is, and if he says it isn't, then Obama said it's not the deep state, it was his order, or it wasn't his order, it's none of your fucking business, go back to sleep. And they're going to have to deal with that.
And you shouldn't give up that work you're doing, because in a way we're brothers. I'm doing the same damn thing. I come from MAGA for the last 7 years. I engage with them every day, and I try to change some hearts and minds. I don't change thousands, but I change a few every now and then. It's just part of what I have to do, period.
Sure. Yeah. So, all right, when it does land, or where you see some movement, where do you see the movement in your interactions with them? Where do you feel like there are some issues? There's always, you know what I'm talking about. When you're ever talking with somebody and they've got a gap, there's a blind spot or a dead zone in their argument or what they're willing to talk about that clues you in to where they think they are weak, where they think, like, I can't talk about that, right? I can't go there. I see it on my side of the aisle as well, or our side of the aisle now. I see when people are like uncomfortable with a conversation about a particular social issue or something like that. And I'm like, don't be afraid of it. Deal with it head on, gaps and all, because that's what democracy is about. But there's definitely some blind spots. Where do you see sort of the weakness when there is one in these areas?
Yeah. By the way, that's a great point. And again, I'm not of the left. I'm now a Democrat. I'm not. I come from the right.
Sure.
You make a great point. Coming from the right, I think historically this is true. The right is much more susceptible to embracing authoritarianism and a strongman than the left is in this country. So
the root of the Republican Party is a design. I mean, democracy versus a republic. The idea of landowners versus one person voting, right?
They have clung to him, and I don't think the left would ever cling to a political figure like this. The only ways I get movement are when I very forcefully but patiently continue to put nuggets of truth in front of them. Repeatedly until they're up against a wall and they've got no answer. Ultimately, the light bulb can go off. The other success I have is when I just pound this notion that Donald Trump fucking lies to you every time he opens his mouth. Play with me for a minute. You may disagree with me. You would never fucking be married to somebody who lied to you every day. You'd never work for somebody who lied to you every day. Look what Trump said to you today. And when I do that over and over, again, I'm not a dick, but just respectfully, he lied to you 12 times today, Steve. 12.
Yeah.
Come on, man. And then you walk him through the lies. Again, every now and then, somebody will say, Steve will say, fucker. And he's gone.
Okay.
And he's
I agree. I feel like, in my experience, the active-based ones, they tend to fend off because there's a bigger threat that overwhelms their judgment on any small shit that he does on the regular. And since it's a death by 1,000 cuts a lot of times that he does, they can kind of get over the blood loss because they think it'll heal. My thing is go for the root, not the fruit. And in the case of Donald Trump, you're telling me that Donald Trump was friends with Jeffrey Epstein from 1986 to 2007 when he stopped being a member of Mar-a-Lago. And during that time, he had no fucking idea that Epstein was a pedophile. Meanwhile, all the other people hanging out with him did. Apparently, Bill Clinton and all these other people had to have known, right? They must have known, and they were participants. Trump was like blissfully ignorant, even though he says he likes him on the younger side and all that shit. He didn't know. So let me put it this way. Do you want somebody that's that shitty a judge of character and that ignorant about the reality around him to be in charge of the nuclear arsenal? Because you can't have it both ways. You can't have him be this masterful manipulator and deal maker and all this stuff and be that blind. He either had to know the dude was in on it, or he's got to be the stupidest motherfucker in the world, right? It's one or the other. Tell me which one, and we'll start from there, right? I will go with them. I'm like, because when we were at one of the marches, there were some maggoty guys yelling and at people and whatever. And I walked up to to each one of them and I went, real quick, I just have one question. I only want to ask you one question. How long would it have taken you to figure out Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile? How long? And all of them said 10 seconds. I'd have known in 5 minutes. Well, then why did it take Trump a quarter century?
And do they answer that?
They go, well, no. And then they basically glitch out. All of them glitched. All of them, none of them came back with an answer. None of them had a reason behind it. Or they would start to do it and then walk back and start it, but they never got a full idea out. And I was like, that's what I thought. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say that's really cool. Just one interesting anecdote. So the stupidest, craziest thing I did in my life was in fall of 2019, I primaried Trump. I ran for president in the Republican primary. I didn't do very well. But I remember in Iowa, Trump was holding a big rally in Iowa, and I worked the rope line. And I asked 40 straight Trump supporters in line, 40. It's on film. Has Donald Trump ever told a lie? Hell, all 40 said no, all of them. Now, that was 6 years ago, 6 years ago.
Right.
When I ask Trump supporters now, even his hardcore supporters now, has Donald Trump ever told a lie? Most of them will say, well, sure, Joe, they all do, or sure, Joe, he has to, or whatever. Maybe that's some progress. I don't know.
Right. Well,
I don't know.
it is. I mean, it is in terms of a cult fever breaking, and there is an element, like you said, he is a lame duck, technically speaking. You know, he's not. This whole bullshit about him running again. I honestly have questions about whether he'll make it to the end of the term. Because the dude is a fucking
Can I just
wreck,
add one caveat to that?
Sure.
I guarantee you, if he were 6 years younger,
Yeah.
he'd fucking try to run again.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
Oh, I would argue you're absolutely right. I think if he'd have made it in 2020, he would try now. He would have tried. He would have tried in the last election to stay in for a third term. No fucking question. They would have done everything, and they're kind of doing it now, but it's too late. The ship has sailed. His brain is tapioca. Everybody around him knows it, and they're just milking this for as long. And I've argued that if he had a fucking stroke and was completely, like nonverbal, they'd roll him around in a fucking chair like Admiral Pike with a red light and a green light, yes and no. And it was like, we'll ask him questions. He says, "Make America great again." And then he goes, and he says, "We should sign this," and all this shit about auto pen. The reason he's bitching about the auto pen is because he auto penned all of the Jan 6ers pardons. Of course he fucking did. And he doesn't want to sign all this shit he likes the little showboat stuff he does, but there's a bunch of other shit the president has to sign that just goes through stuff, and he's like, can't we just auto pen this stuff or whatever? And it's a drag because everybody around him has made such a point of it. He's got to sign it, so he's got to bitch about, like, I could have in the first term I just used auto pen on all these kind of perfunctory bills, like yes, right? They of course they do those kind of things, right? Or letters or shit like proclamations you send to states or whatever. Now he's got to hand sign all these fucking things because he's made a point about it. That's what this is about, and he just hates the job. That's why he's falling a fucking asleep.
But one really important point, his people and key right-wing figures are going to keep that thought alive that he might run again. They're going to keep that out there as long as they can.
I agree. And again, I think that goes to the Epstein stuff, and it goes to what we're talking about, how the tariffs are going to work, that there's a fucking wall coming, just like there was with the Epstein stuff. They had promised all this shit. Pam Bondi was on Fox News a couple of times saying, oh yeah, it's on my desk, it's coming out, all this kind of stuff. And then, Sunday night after the fucking flood in Texas, they're like, what? Epstein files, right?
Yeah.
They snuck it out, and it blew up in their fucking face, and it's not going away. I said last year that when he won the election or stole it or whatever actually happened, the two trains left the station on the same piece of track. What he promised and what he'll deliver. And they're headed right for each other because they're impossible to reconcile in a bunch of areas. They just aren't going to work. And they're going to have real world ramifications. And he's been able to dodge that because most of the shit was perfunctory or bullshit up till now. I mean, half of MAGA thinks he signed the VA Choice Act of 2014, right?
Right. But there are three significant things he's doing that are making a difference for the worst. These fucking tariffs and the tariff chaos is real. These cruel, I mean abject cruelty, these deportations, grabbing people out of Home Depot parking lots is real, and that's going to have a political impact. And the fact that fucker, Donald Trump, it works for Vladimir Putin and is leaving Ukraine out there to die. Those are the only three things like that Trump really cares about. He's got Project 2025 people around him, many of whom I know. They're like driving the train. They're doing all their shit. But Trump cares about tariffs, he cares about Putin, and he cares about looking tough on immigration.
Yeah, well, and again, immigration, that's what I'm talking about. That's another example of the wall or the train that left the station. There are not 35 million illegals in this fucking country that are straight from insane asylums and fucking poured out of prisons. They just don't exist. It's a fucking, it's absurd, right? And the reality is, what he promised his own followers was not just the cruelty, which we're seeing, and I think the cruelty is partly to cover for the fact that they've got low numbers. Last month, immigration deportations and and roundups were down year over year, which is against the Biden numbers, even with all this fucking Homan bullshit, even with the cruelty. They can't even fill alligator Alcatraz. And if there was 25 million fucking insane people running around that broke out of prisons, it should be easy. And his own followers are like, what gives? So he promised on immigration, and those people just don't exist. That's why they've been talking about self-deportation. A bunch of people self-deported. That's where they went, like, get the fuck out of here.
And you're right. And look, the reality is still, Obama in each of his terms deported more people than Trump did in term one, and on average deported more people than Trump is now.
Yes.
And Obama rightly focused on violent criminals, and Obama also did on people right when they came across the border. Trump's not meeting Obama's numbers. And so for him, it's all about the pictures, the videos, and the cruelty.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what he's selling to maggots because he can't show them the numbers, right? You can't show them the numbers. He does, right? But I mean, he'll lie about it, but they're not seeing it, and I still think that is like maybe he just built them up. Maybe I've just seen them build up this way, but you can see them salivating about. They wanted to see busloads of people being, carted off, lots of them, and they just aren't.
No, you're right, but I think because he's given them enough examples and enough video and enough putting them on planes and the masked guys are in Home Depot's parking lot. I mean, I think he's giving them enough of that shit now that his MAGA base, I think, is fairly
relatively satisfied.
They do not know the numbers. You're right, but when they talk to me, they say, Joe, he's doing it. He's doing what Obama and Biden never did.
Okay, because when I know they were saying that like 3 months ago, but after he came out and said, well, this is backbreaking work, and if these people, if their back hurts, they just die, so they just keep working. It's a really interesting thing, like he said on CNBC. Or we got to let farmers choose who they're fucking. We'll do like an honor system with farmers and farm workers, like. Yeah, and hospitals and hospitality services and fucking casinos and fucking docks. Like, where does that end? So the employer can just kind of vouch for any under-the-table immigrants they're employing? Are you shitting me? Like, and on a political sense, I can see where that would float out and just kind of go away. Except the jobs numbers are going to go down, and they're already going down. We're already losing jobs, and the dollar is losing value. He knows that they have to weaken the dollar to bring down interest rates, but he doesn't understand how to message that for maggots, so it's getting all gacked up. Again, they might forgive him, but it's going to have real-world implications. The Rasmussen, his favorite fucking lapdog polling group, is now doing videos online about how fucked he is. That's weird.
You could almost... Trump's an idiot.
Yes.
And tariffs, again, don't know where you are generally on tariffs. I think it's horrible policy. But if Donald Trump hadn't even touched a tariff, 6 months later, the economy would be doing pretty well. That was such an unforced error. Mm-hmm. Everything's going to be more expensive. It is now. Next year it is. And you're right. We're losing jobs. Job growth is going to plummet. He can't lie about that. He could lie about I won the election in 2020. He could lie about they're eating cats and dogs. But to his base, he can't lie, look them in the eyes and say, you're doing better.
Groceries are cheaper. Better.
That truck you're buying costs less. When they live their economy, they know how the fuck they're doing.
That's what I mean. Like, he's fighting gravity at this point, and I don't think he ever has before. I think he's always been able to bullshit people like fucking, Wile E. Coyote standing out past the cliff and has to read a book on gravity before he falls, right? That I think Trump has lived in that zone, right? I said last year, there's going to be an oil glut this fall because of overproduction, because OPEC, in an attempt to support him and with the Russia sanctions to some degree, there was this idea we're going to lower production because China's drop off in use of oil is, it's just collapsing everywhere. Like they were going to be this big oil market. Everybody was prepping for this big oil market as they break free, and then they're just not using it. So there's too much oil. There's about, it'll be about 2 million barrels a day by the 1st of November. Absolutely. The OPEC Plus tried to talk the smaller countries into holding back how much, and then they just said, fuck it, we got to sell what we got because we got nothing else to sell. So they just started increasing production. OPEC just announced, like, so the Saudis just announced like an extra 500,000 barrels they're going to add to this, but there's nowhere for it to fucking go. And even with the Middle East violence that we've seen and the Russian sanctions, think of all the oil that's off the table or in danger of not being able to be shipped. Any other time in history, that would have fucking driven oil to $150 a barrel. It's topping out at like 72. Its real price is probably fucking 60. And the shit Venezuelan oil, is selling at an even lower price. What is it? Russia's break-even price used to be 55. Now it's 70. And they can only sell it for 60. And that's what regular oil is basically selling for on the broader market. They're heading towards this, like, oil and gas is going to come down. But it's not going to change the fact that import costs are going to go up. He's hoping it will compensate. You'll miss the fact that the tariff costs that we're paying will be eaten by a lowering of energy. That's what he's hoping for. It's just... And he has no fucking idea. He's walking into this fucking,
Here's the deal, though, my brother. We've spent 45, 50 minutes talking about how horrible he is and the damage he's doing. And I just joined a political party 9 weeks ago that has an approval rating 20 points below his. I think last November proved that Democrats can no longer win by just saying that fucker is bad.
Agreed.
I think that day is done. And so Democrats, my new party, we got to fucking get our act together and fight and fight. We understand this fucking moment we're in and fight and call Trump out. We've got to do that or we're not going to win.
Agreed.
As bad as he is.
There's a walk and chew gum in this aspect of this. That on the one hand, my disassociating a big chunk of his voters, either because they're called on their bullshit, they're shamed into silence, or they vote the other way. Whatever it takes, if we can shave off 8% of that, it's fucking game over for him. If we do 2%, they're fucked next year. If we can do and if we can continue this, we can beat that down.
Can I add one caveat to that?
Sure.
So I was out for 3 months last year. Every fucking day I was in a battleground state campaigning for Kamala. And I found two kinds of voters who voted for Trump: his hardcore base, no doubt, and the voters that I called "I don't care, Joe," but like they would tell me to my face, "Joe, I know Trump's an asshole, but I don't care." But because the Democrats suck on the border, or the Democrats look down on me, or the price of eggs.
Sure. Yeah.
Those I don't care that Trump's a bad guy, because those voters are really gettable this time around.
Agreed. Yes, and that's what I would say the walking part of it. I think he's the chewing, like shitting on Trump is the chewing gum part, and blowing bubbles while I do it. But the walking part is that, and I've said this for a long time, if Democrats crowed as much about the success of the programs when they create them, SNAP, S-chip, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all the things that we take for granted, the social safety net, the veterans homelessness and all the other stuff that Democrats have worked so hard on for such a long time. If we crowed as much about them when they were created as we cry out when they are taken away, we wouldn't have been in this shit in the first place. And what Democrats have to start doing is, on the one hand, start putting a fucking flag in the ground around shit we created that has value, especially as he starts cadavering it. Because get rid of the Department of Education, you lose two things. One, the ability to control anything that any school does because they don't need federal funding, or they're not going to get it anymore. So you can't actually have a say in what they're doing. So if he wants them to not be woke or whatever, you still have to provide that funding. Plus, it all goes to like students with disabilities or special education. And so you're going to start cutting that. Guess where that money goes? Fucking red states, because blue states take care of their own. And the first ones are going to be hit by it, and they're going to notice, because it happened now. This time, like in the spring, is when this shit is when that funding is going to be cut for the next school year, and they know it. That's when red states are going to be looking in their yard and seeing this shit, as opposed to across the aisle.
Yeah. Look, you and I, next time I come on, we should have an hour-long discussion on the Federal Department of Education because you and I disagree. But I will just say this. He fucking can't get rid of it.
Right.
It's unconstitutional, period.
Yes. Right.
And by the way, call me crazy and naive. I think his entire tariff regime is going to be ruled unconstitutional.
I agree.
Every lower court has. I think the Supreme Court is too. These tariffs are unconstitutional.
Right. Yeah. And again, the Congress can say, we want to give this power to the president, but they have to codify it in a law. They have to pass a law that says, we abdicate this officially, because unless they do, that's what's going to change the Supreme Court. That's why the Supreme Court is going to rule, I think, the way you're talking, is not because they wouldn't rather give this power to Trump or some shit because of the leanings of Amy Coney Barrett or fucking, Brat Kavanaugh and that crowd, but because they have to fall back on, they have a legacy too.
Yes.
And so this is the other thing I want to talk about is like I want to and you're still on Shitter, right? On, is it Walsh Freedom is your is your account? Yeah. So if you're still on that, I highly recommend it. Are you on Blue Sky by any chance?
Yeah, same thing. Walsh Freedom.
Great. Okay. So folks can follow on both those things. So here's what I think. I think and that an egotist attracts other egotists. And that one of the differences between the rank and file maggotry that's out there that will follow follow Trump around, do whatever he says, and the people that are next to him, J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel, even Elon Musk to some degree, certainly the leadership of the Senate who might have designs on being president one day. And I don't mean the fuck around never happens like Ted Cruz. I mean Thune, who clearly thinks he's the tallest guy in the room. He deserves to be president. And he looks like it, right? He's central casting, as Trump would say, to be president. That's what he thinks. And that's what a bunch of people around the Republicans, why they made him the leader. It wasn't because for any other reason. So at some point, because in Xi Jinping's, the group around him, he's purged any comers. Putin has purged all comers around him. So there's no second tier. Trump is incapable of purging the second comers because of the nature of our system. So at some point, whoever it is going to need to elbow out like the fucking Skeksis in the Dark Crystal, trial by stone. They're going to have to fight over who gets the scepter next. And it was J.D. Vance's meeting with Rupert Murdoch in fucking Montana the first kind of flag in the ground towards that, right?
J.D. Vance is too fucking smart to show any hint of disloyalty.
Right.
So here's what I know. In 2028, Donald Trump's blessing will deliver the Republican Party nomination to somebody. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to go crossways with him. And if J.D. Vance is meeting with people that are Trump's enemies, or that ain't going to fly. So I just don't think Vance is going to be doing that.
Okay. Well, he did, he had that meeting
he
about
met with
the
Murdoch
story.
For whatever reason. Yeah.
And I would argue that the question, I guess, is out there. Did Murdoch summon him, or did J.D. Vance, say, I want to meet with you? And
I don't know.
One way or the other, the reality is that the day before, they were talking about he's saying all the right things accidentally ahead of time. He's doing verbal farts about, release all the files, release all that. I think we should just release the list or whatever, when Trump is saying, and everybody's saying there isn't one. There's little eggs in there where he's not being disloyal. He sounds like regular maggotry, but he's still saying it. He has not gotten on the messaging team with this Epstein shit at all. And it might not be that he comes out and goes, I think he should, and he will, his conscience won't be clear. There'll never be an overt moment. But the fact that he's not carrying water.
A lot of Republicans, I know, but a lot of Republicans are. Mike Johnson, Speaker, has said repeatedly, we ought to release the files. A number of these Republicans in the town halls this last week said, we got to release the files. I think they're just saying that. That's the safe thing to say, knowing whatever happens, happens. They just want to be positioned.
Right. Well, that's what I mean, is that at some point, somebody's going to have to jockey to the front of the line. And it won't just be a regular primary situation, because it's not somebody looking to run the Republican Party. It's somebody needs to run MAGA and whatever remnant fucking pot on the stove crust is left of the Republican Party, right?
But you
gotta have both.
You can't get to that front of the line without the old man's blessing.
Right.
That as long as he's alive, that's still going to hold true in 28. And none of them want to lose that. They're all going to game for that.
Right. At the same time, though, does he, if that means any albatross he puts around his neck goes around their neck as well. And if it's something serious, I mean, again, take what you will from Marjorie Taylor Greene's fucking freak out, but she was a straight up QAnon on Facebook who ended up in fucking Congress and was 100% MAGA and spoke at his rallies and wore the fucking hat, the whole deal. Like, she was a foot soldier in this shit. And now she's openly in interviews saying, I don't recognize the Republican Party and all this kind of stuff. And that's got to be, to your point about audience, less about her and more about what she's hearing from her constituents. And who,
that's mostly about her. And by the way, she's on her own. And by the way, she's in the most red district in the country.
Right.
And most of what she's saying is it all has to do with spending. The big, beautiful bill she didn't like. So she's standing on that plank, which is a safe plank for any right winger to stand on.
Right. Well,
but nobody's joined her.
Sure. I mean, I think that's. I don't think they're joining her. I think they're clamoring about the same thing. Chip Roy's been real fucking quiet.
Yeah, lately. But fuck Chip Roy. These people piss me off, Al.
Right.
Chip Roy's been yelling and screaming for 3 years, and then he always just fucking gets down on his knees and votes for Trump.
I agree. That's what I'm saying, is that he was this big, November to fucking January, this motherfucker, all about the budget and all about we're going to finally curtail spending and we're going to cut this and isn't Doge great and all this kind of nonsense. And then fucking the bill passes and a couple of conversations in a hallway and fucking nothing. That dude, and maybe I do think that there was a little bit of when your enemy is down, don't kick him. If he's already taken a beating, you can step back and just let it happen. And there's some of that happening in the Democratic Party, where they're focusing on programs and that kind of stuff, which I think is valuable. But there's also Republicans who are stopping their criticism, not because they're falling in line. I think it might be the assumption amongst magatry about this, but that because they know this is going bad for Trump, and it's going to keep going bad, especially around the Epstein stuff. So they're just stepping back, and they don't have to be a part of it because it's a fuse that's already burning.
Yeah, you're right. But understand, it's like the next 2 or 3 years, they're trying to land a plane.
Yeah.
They know Trump's going to be gone, but they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want a primary challenge. So they're going to negotiate this tiptoe, this very tight little line to try to land that plane to please the king, and then he's gone, and then I can do what I want.
Right. So I appreciate you being on with me. We're at the bottom of the hour, but I want everybody to follow you on your socials, and I appreciate the conversation. It's fucking fantastic. We need to have it again, because I value your opinion about this, because I've always been kind of the redneck whisperer on the Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour, because I grew up in Kentucky, and I lived in a town with 46 people in it, with a 1.5 mile long dirt road driveway, and a creek behind my house that we had to use as a toilet when we ran out of water. So I understand where a bunch of these people.
You and I are brothers.
Yeah, dug in like
you
ticks.
and I are brothers, because I'm the MAGA whisperer, because I'm the only one I know who literally came from MAGA, the base, and became a never Trumper. You and I are identical, my friend.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right about being for stuff. I think that you can keep your powder dry until you get closer to an election cycle about it, because by and large, people know what Democrats are for, but we should be able to hit it. public education, good infrastructure, a strong border and constitutional protections for every American. Like, start there, and then don't make excuses or cover for it. Yeah.
If I were with you right now, I'd slap you upside the head. I don't think most people have a fucking clue what Democrats are for.
That's what I'm saying. We have to be.
To your point, they got to get that out. I agree.
That's what I'm saying. That's what the message has to be. Is make the old keep it simple, stupid concept of we're really for freedom. You want to deny gay people the right to get married, or a woman the right to have an abortion if she needs one to save her fucking life or her future? Then you're not for freedom. You can say you're not. That's okay. You're for limited freedom. Then fucking say it. You get to own that. We're for freedom, okay? And so we can own that.
Or denying student visas to people who are critical of Israel. You're for freedom. I mean, this is easy shit.
Yes, exactly. Right. And so we need to reclaim the flag, reclaim the word freedom, reclaim the Constitution, and stand on it and be proud of that fact of because we want to bring those rights to every individual voter. Because one person, one vote. If you're a citizen of this country over the age of 18 and you're not currently serving time or on probation for a felony conviction that you got out early on, you can vote. And so your vote matters. And even if I disagree with it, I want you participating because that's democracy to me. And we can, and there are no bipartisan issues. There may be partisan solutions. I mean, so no partisan issues. There are only, partisan solutions. And in the middle of those partisan solutions, there's agreement. And that's what democracy is about. And we're about that. For instead of this, like the extremes fighting on both sides about what they demand from the other side, the reality is that while I enjoy the word fight when it comes to an actual fist fight, in governance, you got to stand for something. You got to stand up and talk and hold the line and be able to legislate and make your argument count. And so as long as we're doing that, I feel like we're in a better position and make them argue against these things. Like the same way we don't want to run just against Trump. We want to make the other side run against the programs they think should go away on the merits. And if you go, okay, that's fine, but start in the red states because that's where the biggest cost is. And then they all go, whoa, 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 whoa. Right? So let them, if they're comfortable being hypocrites, continue to draw, attention to it and let them carry that albatross around their neck. But we've got to stand for the things that make everybody's life better so that people can get on with living.
Amen.
And
perfectly put, brother. Perfectly put.
This so I appreciate you being on.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. It's great having you on. I really respect sort of your not just where you've ended up, but the travel that got you there, because we all have a pathway, right? And I think there's a lot of we don't necessarily currently have enough respect for people who've made a journey. There's a lot of purity testing going out there, like everybody, like a lot of my what you would consider far left friends. Don't realize that if they'd have grown up around Jesus camp, they'd have gone there and they would sound exactly like the far right maggotism, right? They would. They would argue because they don't realize how much their upbringing, how much their circumstance, how much the media around them, how much their experience played into their character. And if it went another way, they could absolutely be talked into it. And so if you recognize that in another person, you can go, look, I'm not faulting your soul. I just want to correct your information. And then I hope that because you apparently being a good person matters to you, I would hope to convince you that this is the side that's being good right now.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Joe
bro.
Walsh.
Hey,
Look
we'll
at that.
Fucking do this again. This is awesome, brother.
I love that idea. Please, you're welcome back anytime. I really appreciate it. All right, I'll let you go. And off he goes. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Walsh, thank you so much for being on, brother.
Thanks.
And chat room, you guys are amazing. And give it up. And can we all do something at the tail end of the show? Can we all do something at the tail end of the show? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, can't stop lying. Happy birthday to you. We love you, brother. You're amazing and great and valuable on so many fronts. And we're all, myself included, so lucky to know you and be in your circle, whether in person, like I get to do on occasion, or digitally, as everybody else in the chat does. So, yeah, many happy returns. We adore you. You're wonderful. CSL, we salute you, my friend. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. It's been a great show this morning. This is crazy. And Philip Bittner will be either joining us on Saturday, or we can't do a special show tomorrow because I have a delivery coming and I have no idea when it's going to be here. Oh, God. So I couldn't that's why I schedule stuff for Tuesday and Thursday, because I don't have a morning show, and then it's not important. It's not important. It's just, it's just stuff, things, just life that happens. Anyways, you guys are wonderful. And I will see you guys later this afternoon. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. I insist. Yes, I'll be on later today.